Good evening, grade 8s. On Monday, May 15th, this is the answer to last Friday's Formative Friday. If there's questions you don't need help with, just fast forward through the video to the parts you do need help with. If you haven't got a question, please watch all of the video and copy down what you should have done. Don't just fast forward to the end of it and write down the answer, and don't copy down any work. Try and use this as a learning tool, not as a way to get the answers. Okay, so question 1 says it's $640 for 12 golf clubs. How much is 9 golf clubs? So when you read these types of questions now, probably by this point in the year, you're realizing that proportional reasoning or unit rate is the way you're going to solve this. Now, for some of you, using unit rate, you're going to say $640 for 12 clubs. How much is 1? And you're going to take the 640. I'll put this over here. 640. Sorry, that's not 640. 640. You're going to divide it by 12. And the unit rate for that is going to be $53 and a third. I'm not going to write it as a repeating decimal. I'll just write it like that. So 53 and a third dollars, or roughly 53.33 repeating dollars per club. And if that's for one club, then if I multiply that by 9, I would get $480 for 9 clubs. Okay, that's if you use unit rate. Right, finding out the price of 1 and then multiplying it by however many you bought. But the one you should be kind of gravitating toward as you get better at this is unit rate. So $640 for 12 clubs is proportional to how many dollars for 9 clubs, right? Setting it up using proportional reasoning is what we want you to get towards, right? And what we know is if we multiply across the equal sign this way, and we multiply across the equal sign that way, 5,400 plus 360 is 5760, I think, if you multiply those two. Isolate by dividing by 12, and you solve for the missing value, x. X would equal whatever 5760 divided by, I know what the answer is, it's 480, right? So we can solve the missing value using proportional reasoning. So hopefully you use the second way, but if you didn't, there's nothing wrong with it. Proportional reasoning. Okay. Just out of curiosity, in this class, how many used unit rate? Okay, half of you. How many use proportional reasoning? The other half. How many use a different method? Nobody? Okay, let's try that again. How many use this one? How many use this one? Okay, try and gravitate towards this one. The second question, most of you got it right. It says a 4.8 ladder is leaned against a wall. So to solve this, the strategy, since it's a story problem, is a good strategy is always to draw what you read. So a 4.8 meter ladder is leaned against a wall, so that the bottom is 1 meter from the wall. Okay, this is the wall. So really what we have here is a right triangle with a missing leg, right? So if I draw my squares or use my theorem, it's up to you which one you use, you would get the area. This is 1, because 1 times 1 is 1. How many got 2 there? Did anyone mistakenly get 2? Nobody? Over here would be x squared, and over here would be whatever 4.8 times 4.8 is. Take my calculator, go 4.8. Rather than hit times, you can hit this button right here, which is the square button. I get 23.02 or 04, was it? So this number, this mystery one, plus 1 equals 20. This one must have had an area of 2204. No, that's not right. 22.04 meters squared, which would mean the side length would be the square root of 22.04, square root sign, is approximately 4.7 meters. So the answer is the ladder would extend approximately 4.7 meters. 0.7 meters, how many centimeters? Quick bonus question. Travis, how much is 0.7 meters in how much is 0.7 meters in centimeters? Anyone? 70 centimeters is correct. Yeah, so it's 4 meters, 70 centimeters, or 4.7 meters. Okay. The next question. Ooh, 60% of you got it right. It says that the final price of a $496 TV that is discounted 20%, then charge 15% HST. Now there are two ways to do this. The first way is to take your $496 and figure out what is 20% of $40.96. So you could do it mentally and say, well, 10% would be to move the decimal one place, which would be $49.60. So 20% would be double that, which would be 98.20, I think. Is that right? Or 99.20? 99.20. So your discount is 99.20. That's your discount. So you could subtract it from the price of the TV. You get 0, 0. 6 take away 9, got to borrow. You get 7, got to borrow. You get 9, you get 3. So the price of the TV after the 20% discount would be $397. Then you have to add on 15%. So then you say, well, what is 15%? Well, 10% is $39.70. Using mental math, move the decimal one place over. And 5% would be half of that. And if I wanted to take a calculator and go, well, what is $39.70 divided by 2? And it's $19.85. So the tax would be, the 15% would be the sum of those two. So 5, 15, 19, 5. So $59.55 would be your tax, correct? Add that on to your $397 plus $59.55. You get 55 cents. You get 16. You get 15. You get 4. Oh, I made a mistake somewhere, didn't I? Did I make a mistake somewhere? Anyone help me where I made a mistake? Did I not make a mistake? I made a mistake. Okay, so if you did it poorly with mental math, you got this wrong answer. However, if you use straight up, this is probably not what you wanted to do anyway. So that's good, because what we're going to do is we're going to do it the way I wanted you to do it. So if it's a 20% discount, how much are you paying for the TV? If you save 20%, what percent of the TV's price are you paying for? If you save, 80%. So really, I'm going to pay for 80% of the $496, correct? If you save 20%, you pay for 80%. That's 0.8 times 496. So that would be 496 equals 396.80. So over here, I made a mistake somehow over this area. I can't remember. Oh, I know what it was. I didn't start with, it should have been 0, 0 there. Oh, well. So that's the price after the discount. And then what I need to do is pay 15% HST. Does anyone remember how to add on 15% to the price of it in one step? What do I multiply it by, Holly? Right. If I take 1.15, this represents 100% of the cost with that 1, and that represents 15% together. So the 100% is the cost of the TV, and the 15% is the 0.15. So if I multiply that by 396.80, not only am I going to get the $396.80, I'm also going to get the extra 15% tax I'm going to pay. So if I take the calculator and go 1.15, which is multiplied by 396.80, the final price I'm going to pay for the TV is $456.32. Okay, which is the correct answer. How many can articulate where they made the mistake? Anybody? No? Did you follow that okay? Does that make sense? Did anyone do it where they just calculated what the 20% was, then subtracted it? Then did anyone do it in the one step, or did anyone do it two steps? How many did one step? Just a show of hands. How many did it in two steps? Find the discount, subtract it. Okay. Again, what I'm hoping you will eventually do is gravitate towards the one-step multiplication method, right? Understand that if it's a discount of so many percent, you're paying for X number percent of it, right? Think of it that way. Question 4 says the approximate surface area of a cylinder. So what's the formula for the volume of any cylinder? The volume is area of the base multiplied by the height of the prism, right? No matter which one we're talking about, whether triangular prism, rectangular prism, cube, or cylinder. In this case, the area of the base is a circle, so we're going to use pi r squared multiplied by the height of the prism. So the diameter, I'm going to draw it here. The diameter is 10, and the height is 12. So if the diameter is 10, the radius will be 5. Now I'm assuming I use 3, because it says approximate. So you can use 3 instead of 3.14. Multiplied by 12. 3 multiplied by, don't forget to do your exponents first. Order of operations. You get 75 times 12, which is 510 cubic meters of volume. Okay? And it's important you have your units there, even though in the remote it wouldn't have it. Okay? Those people who, there was 4 of you that got 960. Of you 4 people, can you articulate where 960 came from? If you put it. It's worth money. I'll buy your information from you. 960. Anybody? No? Okay. Too many. Why did no one stop me? How did we get this right? What did I calculate? How did I get the right answer? Oh, because 75 times 12 isn't. Oh. I just looked at the answer. I got volume. Why didn't someone stop me? I just did that whole thing. I got to stop this whole thing now. So next question is volume. All right, so we're just going to switch this then. So this one should be 900 cubic meters. That's the answer for question 5. And now we'll do question 4, surface area. Why did nobody stop me? You guys zoned out. So this is volume, but we're going to do surface area for this one. So 2 pi r squared plus pi dh is the formula. Now remember, if I did my net, the 2 pi r squareds comes from this one and this one. There's 2 circles, right? And the pi dh, this length of the rectangle is really the same distance as this circumference. So it could be circumference times the height, which would be this measurement. But instead of circumference, we use pi d. You could have also said 2 pi rh, because 2 r's and a d are the same thing. But for our class, we always use 2 pi dh. In grade 9, I know the teachers in grade 9 like to use that for the second part instead. But we'll use that. So 2 multiplied by 3 multiplied by 5 squared plus 3 multiplied by 10 multiplied by 12 would be the numbers you have to substitute, because there's your 12 and there's your 10. Okay? So we have 2 75s, because each circle would have a surface area of 75. So both circles would have a surface area of 150. And this would be 30 times 12, which would be 360. And when you add those two together, you have a total surface area of 510 meters squared, which is the answer to the last question. Question 6, 70% of you got it right. 23% of you left it as a mixed fraction, or improper fraction, excuse me. So if I extend it here, most of you got it right though. 13 thirds is what 4 1/3 is as a improper fraction, divided by 3 halves. Now there's 2 ways you could do it, and I could show you both, but I'm just going to do it the easiest of ways. We knew from our experimenting before that if you keep the first fraction and change the multiplication to the multiplication of the reciprocal of the second fraction, we're going to get the same answer. So you get 26 ninths, which is the correct answer. However, it's best you put it back into how many? There's 2 and 8 ninths, which was the expected answer. Okay, 93% of you got that right. The next question, ooh, interesting. Only 2/3 of the class got it right. 1/3 of the class got this question wrong. So this is an order of operations question. The first thing you should do is your multiplications. So there's 2 of them right there. What I'm going to do is I'm going to simplify both of those multiplications first. The product of -1 and -2 is +2. The product of -4 and -5 is +20. I now have addition and subtraction. I'm going to add them in the order I see, or I'm going to simplify them in the order from left to right. The sum of these two is -1. The easiest way to subtract is to change to adding of the inverse, and you get -21 for your answer. Okay? Question 8 is your linear relations. You're given a table of values. You're asked to solve if x is 200, what's y? All of you got it right except for one person. Your difference here is 6. Your difference here is 3. 6 divided by 3 is 2, which means in your equation that shows the relationship between x and y, 2 is your coefficient. Take your first ordered pair, substitute them. So x is 2, y is 10. 4 does not equal 10, but if I put a +6 here, they do. +6 here and +6 here. Now that I have my equation, I can substitute the 200 for where the x is. 2 times 200 plus 6 is 400 plus 6. 406 would equal y. Okay, so the missing value is 406. Question 9, 86% of you got it right. Just out of curiosity, how many used division first for the, okay, how many used expansion? Okay, for poops and giggles, I am going to use expansion, and if you didn't use it, just follow along to make sure you understand it. So what this means is you have -10 x's and you have -10 -1's. The product of -10 and x minus 1 means you have -10 of both of those terms. So -10 times x is -10x. -10 times -1 is +10 equals 40. You have a constant that you can get rid of through opposite operation. You could divide both sides by the coefficient to get rid of it. X would equal -3. Ah, this is interesting. Two people said -51. Now, if you said -51, don't raise your hand. Can anyone, or sorry, +51. Can anyone guess where +51 came as a wrong answer? Dave, did you put 51? You can't say it. Those who didn't, can you figure out where it came from? Olivia, you think you know? Well, what happens if you add 10 to both sides first? Sorry, add 10 here and add 10 here. If you thought that got rid of a multiply by 10, which is not the opposite, you would have left with x minus 1 equals 50, and then add 1, x equals 51, which would be the wrong answer. But right here, that's not a -10, that's a multiply by -10, right? Which is different. Okay. Interesting. And the last question is a probability question. Oh my heavens, look at that now. Well, that's a rounding error. So technically, with proper rounding, 80% of the class got it right. The coins, the probability of heads is 1/2. The probability of the second coin is 1/2. And on a spinner labeled 1 to 3, the probability of an odd would be 2 chances out of 3. And we know that to get the probability, we multiply all those together. 2/12, which we want to change to a decimal first. 2 divided by 12 is this, which as a percent is approximately 16.6 repeating percent, which is approximately 16.7%, which was the expected value in the remote. 16.6 for 26% of you, you just didn't round properly, right? Okay.